Tour of Ontario, all in an effort to raise money for a Toronto hospital. Amber Needham and her
Amber Needham
arrived in Peterborough yesterday afternoon.
My name is Amber Needham. I am diagnosed with a couple of different things. SJS, which stands for Stevens-Johnson syndrome, then brings on the other things I'm diagnosed with, and that is glaucoma. In 2014, I was perfectly seeing from one eye, and I was living and working and driving and just living life large. Within 30 days, I started to notice some very strange things happening with my really good vision. Within 60 days, I couldn't count fingers only inches away from my face. It was very scary. In the beginning stages, the ophthalmologists could not tell me what was wrong, what had happened, and why my vision deteriorated so quickly. In 2015, in the late fall, we had finally found out what the cause was of my blindness, and therefore we could move forward with treatment. That treatment was something that is only performed by a single doctor in all of Canada, and that is Dr. Clara Chan.
My name is Dr. Clara Chan, and I am a cornea specialist at the University of Toronto. Amber Needham was referred to me a few years ago, having become legally blind due to a condition called limbal stem cell deficiency. A severe drug reaction called Stevens-Johnson syndrome caused her corneas, which are usually transparent, to become scarred and covered with blood vessels. The treatment she needed was something called a limbal stem cell transplant. Stem cells from a living or deceased donor, or both, would have to be transplanted onto Amber's cornea surface in order to replace those stem cells which were permanently damaged. Amber was lucky to have a friend who was a good match and willing to donate her stem cells. She was able to have the surgery successfully.
The turning point in my story was when I lost my vision and regained it, where I could see fully again. And back to my living large and working and painting and driving and traveling and all these wonderful things. Unfortunately, I had lost my sight a second time to a completely different and equally bizarre incident. From that point, it didn't look like I was going to be graced with having my sight restored a second time. So I learned to accept it, learn to manage it, then embrace it, because I did really feel that I was supposed to be blind. To be inflicted with a second time of losing my vision, I just felt that this was the way my life was going to be. The Blind Girl Sees is the title of my book. And what it means to me is that I learned to see differently. I learned to see not through my eyes, but by way of my heart. Through blindness, I had come to discover that while sighted for 50 years, I wasn't necessarily pleased with my way of being, and I really desired to show up differently. And becoming blind really helped me see that. By this time, I really did want to give back to the doctor that took such good care of me, and the hospital that cares, and the ophthalmology department that cares so much about their patients, that I felt that if I could publish my book, that I would undoubtedly donate the proceeds to help fund a stem cell donor registry. The Tandem Ride for Sight began from wanting to get some physical exercise after having such a long time with COVID lockdown. But it was also to do something that would challenge me and get me out there to talk about what I was wanting to do by raising money for the ophthalmology department. I wanted to do something that was kind of out there, and so a tandem bike was the only way I could get the physical exercise that I required and create some distance to promote the mission and the book. Mike Russo to me is a very long best buddy of mine. He's phenomenal. He's so willing and able to be there for me during my setbacks of blindness, as well as he's there to triumph and be kind of my cheerleader for when things are going super well. He's outstanding.
My name's Mike Russo. I am 66 years old. I took up cycling roughly about 10 years ago after I had a double hip replacement due to arthritis in both hips. Amber and I are really good friends. We've known each other for probably over 20 years now. The idea to come across Ontario started off initially as a cross-Canada cycling tour to raise money and awareness for corneal disease and research. But after speaking with our team in the beginning stages, we determined that going across Canada was logistically not sound, so we decided to go across Ontario, raising money for the province that was going to be most beneficial.
When we downsized the idea to all across Ontario, we just got unlimited support of our ability to do that with no problem, from our drivers to my spiritual community to Michael's family.
To mentally prepare for the ride, we basically said, okay, we knew we had to be able to ride 60 kilometers comfortably on a day. So what we did is we started training, and we started off at I think our first ride was only 10 kilometers just to see what it was like. And then slowly we progressed it to our maximum ride was a 45-kilometer ride. And then once we said, okay, that's the furthest we can go comfortably, then we started doubling up our rides, and we'd go out for a morning ride and do a second afternoon ride.
On July the 4th, the send-off of us starting our first day of riding was spectacular. There was friends and family, there was media attention, we had friends on motorcycles that were giving us personal escorts through St. Thomas. It was exhilarating. Mike and I were just so excited that it was finally here, that all the planning was coming into place and the day was real. It was all real.
When we got to Grand Bend, our initial desire was to stay at the Pinery Provincial Park, but unfortunately it was full when we got there. So we tracked down the Pinedale Motor Inn and we went into the reception.
We told them of, what we were doing. Obviously, riding up on a tandem bike, kind of got their interest. The lady that owned the Pinedale Motor Inn gave us a beautiful discount and then went so far as to support us by putting up on her marquee the signage that said Tandem Ride for Sight support by going to our fundraising page. And it just felt so great to have somebody that we didn't even know and would maybe never ever see again be so kind to us to do what she did.
Because it was really the beginning stages of the ride, it was very heartwarming and thinking, there are good people out in this world.
Meeting Colette was just so spontaneous. We had stopped for a rest halfway through our ride, and all of a sudden this lady just popped out of the bushes with a kayak over her head and just started having a conversation with us.
And it just so happened that Colette had a very rare eye disease, a corneal disease, that according to the optometrist she should not be able to see, but she can. And her impairment hasn't stopped or slowed her down at all. She still kayaks, she cycles, and very similar to Amber, she's not going to let it hold her back.
She was just so full of positive energy.
In reality, it was a case of, we were out on a mission for the ophthalmology department, and the number of people that we have come across or came across during this ride with visual impairment, either on themselves or somebody they knew, it was amazing how many were actually affected by eye disease. It told us that what we were doing was good. We are climbing a monster hill that actually didn't show up on our map, or at least I didn't think it was a big hill. Monster hills are all over northern Ontario. We get down one and then 20 kilometers later you're going up another one. The first one we came across, we just looked up at it and we said, oh my goodness, we gotta climb that. Challenges come in all sizes. You can have a small challenge, you can have a big challenge, but they're all capable of climbing. It might take a little bit longer. The climb up the hill was slow, but it was still a challenge that we accomplished. Once you get over that hump, then it's no longer an obstacle. It's just a bump in the road.
This monster hill was incredible in that it really challenged my ability to override the noise in my head that said, I want to get off the bike. But we didn't. We just plowed through it, slow but sure. And it's like with life, you're gonna hit challenges, as I've done, and you can choose to just like jump off and just say, that's it, I'm done. Or you can just get through the setback slow and steady and get to the other side. Annie Smith, a phenomenal woman, absolutely phenomenal woman. She came into my life simply from a phone call that was offered to me by my fundraising coordinator through UHN. She introduced me to Annie so that she might be able to help me with social media and with media attention during our ride. Being that, I was blown away by her tenacity, by her willingness to help, and she too suffers a huge setback in her life. She is diagnosed with cardiac sarcoidosis, and because of this cardiac sarcoidosis, lives with both a defibrillator and a pacemaker in her chest. But yet, she's full of life, she's full of energy, she loves to help, she's happy. She's a fitness instructor still, even with this disease that she has.
You know, when we went into the last week of our ride, it was really quite monumental because we had done all the challenging hills. We were now back into the flats of southern Ontario. Yeah, we had some bumps, but nothing like what we had challenged. So we sat down one night and we said, you know what, we've only got 200 kilometers to go. And that was like, okay, that's only like 3 days. You could see the end and it was just amazing. And we knew we were going to accomplish our goal.
On the last day of our ride, it was very exciting for both Mike and I. We knew that we were going to be greeted by the hospital staff, the doctors, some of our friends, but we had no idea that when we rounded the corner on our bike and went riding down the street as to what we would see. There was a lot of people there, people that we didn't expect to see. And they were cheering us on like crazy. It was so exciting. There was a very close friend, associate, who donated a very large sum of money for our cause. And it was, I got emotional when she presented it to us. It just kind of hit home as to, we did this, we made a big accomplishment, and what it said is that people believed in us, and that was important. I
think what was going through our head on that day was simply, we did it. You know, we actually did this. You know, like it was a big undertaking. We didn't realize how big until, you know, we finally got it done. And now even today we look back and say, that was a big ride we did on a tandem bicycle. So
the tandem ride for sight is not over. However, it probably will never look the same as with us on a tandem bike. I will choose other creative ways to reach out to people for support in our mission to raise a large sum of money. We are looking to raise $80,000 for the stem cell donor registry. We were able to raise $20,000, which is awesome. We're thrilled for that and very appreciative, but there's still more work to do. I hope that what we've been able to accomplish shows others that anything is possible.